What is up, everybody? It is Wick here. Got a sales video today. These are all things I've sold in the past 2 weeks. Great ideas for things to look for out in the wild if you're sourcing at garage sales, rummage sales, wherever you source. I know people like these videos because they're real sales and real results. But if you do enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button for me. Also check to see if you're subscribed. I'd really appreciate it. But let's jump into it. Here is a Queen Wants You in 82 band t-shirt from 2009. Got this at I guess you just call it a mini flea market. Paid $5 for it and I sold it for $50 plus shipping. And it took about 2 months to sell. Here's a vintage Acubra Australian hat. This came from a garage sale. I think I got like 20, maybe $25 into it, but I sold it for $70 plus shipping, and it sold in about 3 weeks. Some of these hats can go for a couple $100s. Unfortunately, this one wasn't as desirable, but still great profit. Ended up getting these cool Vans at a thrift store for $5. Glad they didn't fit me because I would have kept them, and I don't need to be keeping any more shoes. Doing what I do, I find so many pairs of shoes I like, so I have a closet filled with them. Anyway, I sold these for $70 plus shipping, and they sold in about 3 months. Here's a rare VHS called Rad. Ended up selling this for $90. Did take a while to sell, almost 2 years. That is mostly because I had it priced a lot higher. I think I started at like $140 or something like that. Just been lowering the price over the months. You know, you price this like $60 or $70, it's probably going to sell the first day. Anyway, VHS in the $90 is always welcome. Here is a Rick Steiner wrestling figure. Got this in a bucket at a rummage sale with a bunch of other wrestling figures that were really good. Probably make close to $700 on those figures once they all sell. Sold this one for $65 and it took about a week to sell. Here is a Sony turntable. I got this at a rummage sale for only $5. It's a really cool one, quite valuable, close to $300 if I remember right. Unfortunately, it had problems. I was going to order a part to try to fix it. The tone arm wasn't moving, but when I opened it up to look inside, it had all kinds of issues. I was seeing that I don't think I have the skill to repair unless I do a lot of research. I just don't have the time for that. So I sold it for $70 plus shipping. So still made some great profit on it, selling it for parts. Somebody who knows what they're doing, they're going to repair it and probably sell it, make some good profit on it. And this took about 4.5 months to sell. Here's a Citizen Eco Drive watch. Got this at a rummage sale for $2 and was able to sell it for $60, and it sold in about a month. Here's a cool flip, one of these vintage turtle lamps. Found this one at a church sale for $8 and sold it for $50 plus shipping. Took about 3.5 months to sell. Here's a Craftsman wrench and ratchet set. Paid $40 for this, was able to sell it for $175 plus shipping. Took about 1.5 months to sell. Made some good profit on it. Here's some Vask vintage Gore-Tex boots. This was a thrift find for only $5. Sold these for 75. Was it 75 or 80? It was $75 plus shipping, and they sold in less than a month. So certainly a great pair of boots. Here's a new bread maker. Got this at Goodwill for $25, and I sold it for $100 plus shipping. Only took about a week to sell. Something like this I sell new open box. Actually been a while since I've sold a bread maker. Here is a pair of size 16 Red Wing boots. Paid $20 for these at a Goodwill. Was able to sell them for $50 plus shipping. They took about 5 months to sell. There was someone interested in them, so I dropped the price to $50 and he bought them. Here is a vacuum hose for a rainbow vacuum. This is the one I paid $30 for and parted out. I believe this is the last piece. So I ended up making at least $200 selling the parts, and they all sold within 2 months. This one I sold for $30 plus shipping. Here's a pretty good flip, a little bit disappointing though. This is a Pleasant Company bed. Got this with all the Pleasant Company stuff I got for only $0.25. I was planning on selling this for $100. However, it is missing one of the bedpost knobs. I thought maybe it fell off in the car, but I couldn't find it. I don't remember if it was there when I bought it, because I just bought this stuff so quickly. Still though, I put it up for $50 plus shipping, and it sold in just a couple of days. Since I only have a quarter into all the American Girl doll stuff, no complaints, still great profit coming in. Here's a Casio keyboard. Got this at a thrift store for $5. I sold it for $60 plus shipping. This one took about 5 months to sell. Like picking these up when they're in good condition and they actually have the box. Here's a good one. I got these boots at a thrift store for $5. These Ariat boots. Great name, great price. Sold them for $60 plus shipping, and they sold in about a week. Here's a kitchen faucet filtration filter. Seems like I got this at a rummage sale for like $1 or less. I sold it for $20, so bread and butter type of flip. Took about 4 or 5 months to sell. Here's a part to a food processor. Got some new parts in Goodwill for $3.99. I've sold all the parts but this one. Sold this piece for $18. Took about a month to sell and ended up making some good profit on everything. Got this digital dimmer at a garage sale. Paid $1 for it. I sold it for $18 and it sold in 2 days. Here's a Lego Super Mario Penguin. This was a thrift find and I paid $2.99 for it. Was able to sell it for $40. It sold in less than 24 hours. I probably should have priced it a little bit higher because it's rare. But there are a lot selling between $30 and $35, so I thought 40 was good. I know they sell for $55 on Amazon. I just decided to sell it on eBay. Anyway, I still made a great profit, a fast sale. Here's a Wile E. Coyote hand puppet. Got this at a rummage sale about 3 years ago for $0.25. It's one of those list it and forget it type items where it's not worth a whole lot. You paid so little for it, you don't really care after you list it. But it has sold, and there's a buyer's note here that says, can you please ship this out quickly? It's going to California and they need it for a gift. That's why I like to list these things that you pay, $0.25 for, and I ended up selling it for $17. It sat for 3 years because where else is someone going to get this, right? Other than eBay for a gift for someone. And most people, an item like this just isn't really worth much, but for someone, it's going to be worth a lot more just for the memories or for whatever reason they're getting it, right? That's why I have things listed for so long. It doesn't cost me anything to keep them listed because I have so many free listings, it just refreshes. I've already spent the 5 minutes it took to list this, so there's no reason for me to pull it down and say, oh, it hasn't sold in 3 years. Let's just throw it away or throw it to Goodwill or whatever. I knew at some point it would sell, and today's the day. Here's a vintage Umco aluminum tackle box. Found this at Goodwill for $3.99. Ended up selling with a 10% off offer for $36 plus shipping, and it sold in a little bit over a month. Here's a wrestling figure. Got a bunch of these at a rummage sale and they were really good. Sold for $40, and this sold in about 4 days. Here is a pair of size 16 New Balance shoes. I don't remember exactly where these came from, but I wouldn't have paid more than $5 for them, and I sold them for $30 plus shipping. It looks like they took about 10 months to sell. Here's a Works oscillating tool. Got a bunch of these at either Lowe's or Home Depot years ago. Seems like I got about 30 of them on clearance. They used to sell fairly quickly, and then at one point over the past year or two, they just stopped selling. Even lowered the price some, but I still sell one every now and then. I think I'm down to like my last 3, but sold it for $35 plus shipping. Overall, it was a very good buy. I think I got these for like $5. Here's a pair of Asics Gel Venture 8 shoes. This is one of those pairs of shoes I don't remember where I got them. Usually I buy shoes like this if they're clean and in good condition. Don't have to do any real work on them. At rummage sales for, $1, $2, maybe $3. I sold them for $15 plus shipping. So if I looked them up in Goodwill, I probably wouldn't have paid $5 for them. That's why I'm assuming I got them at a rummage sale where I just buy stuff, when it's in good condition for $1. But it looks like they sold in about 6 months. Here's a KitchenAid spiralizer. Got this at a thrift store for $10. Sold it for $45 plus shipping, and it sold in about 4 days. Here is a Panamax surge protector. Got this at Goodwill for $10. Was able to sell it for $40 plus shipping, and it took about 5 months to sell. Here is a pair of Nike Air Force Ones. It seems like I got these at a garage sale for $2 or $3 and sold them for $36 plus shipping. It's an international order. They took close to a year to sell. Here is a Durabrand anti-skip CD player, still new. Got this at a garage sale for $2. Was able to sell it for $30 plus shipping, and it only took about 2 weeks to sell. Easy to list, easy to ship. Here's a Rawlings baseball glove. I sold this for $25. Seems like this one came from a rummage sale, maybe a garage sale for a couple bucks. I buy a lot of gloves, so it's hard to keep track. Here is a Logo athletic hat. You can find some pretty valuable hats made by them. Unfortunately, this is not one of them. If I remember correctly, I got this at Goodwill for a couple dollars and I sold it for $18, and it took about 8 months to sell. Here's a wildlife treasury card set. I've sold these before in the past. They are very saturated on eBay right now, so I only buy them in certain situations. Like if the box is full of cards and the cards are in good condition, and of course I'm getting it very cheap. I got this one at Goodwill for $5 and I priced it $35 plus shipping, and it sold in about a week, so I was happy with that turnaround for sure. Here is a vintage Yankee push handle drill. Got this at a garage sale. I paid $5 for it. I got the original box. I sold it for $25 plus shipping, and it sold in about a week and a half. Not bad. Here's a couple pair of Bionicle Lego sets. Got a bunch of these at Goodwill and a bunch at a garage sale recently. I don't know exactly where these came from, but altogether I got about $30 into what I paid for them, and I'm selling a lot of them for $250, and then I sold these two, for whatever reason I don't remember now at this point, separately for $35 plus shipping. Looks like they took about 3 months to sell. Here's a newer American Girl doll. Found this in a tote at a garage sale. It was only $1. I was able to sell it for $28 plus shipping, and it sold in about a month. Got a few pairs of snowboarding boots at an estate sale for $5 a piece. A couple of them had some flaws, otherwise they are new. Ended up selling this pair for $25 plus shipping. They took about 3.5 months to sell. Here's a vintage Honda hat. Got a few of these at a thrift store. I paid either a quarter or 50 cents for them. Sold this one for $25 plus shipping, and it took about 5 months to sell. Here's an Nikon Coolpix L20 camera. Got this at an estate sale for $2. This is a pretty good camera. It would sell for about $60, $70. However, didn't notice that it had been dropped and there was a crack in the plastic along the side and bottom. So I just priced mine $30 plus shipping, and it still sold very quickly within 3 days. Paying $2. It's a good deal. There's a part to the 1994 Fisher-Price pirate ship. I remember getting one last year at a garage sale. I think I paid $5 for it and parted out everything except for this piece, which is now finally sold for $15. Of course, overall, I made some good profit on everything. Here's a Carrolltown Mountain Retreat set Christmas thing. Remember getting this at Goodwill, I think for around $5. It did not sell last Christmas, so I marked it down to $30 plus shipping, and it has sold. Of course, a lot of this Christmas Village stuff can be very high dollar if you find the right ones. Here's one of the Works oscillating tools. Got a bunch of these from Lowe's a few years ago. Been selling them. Sold this one for $35 plus shipping. Made some great profit on them over the years. Here's a pair of wrestling figures, vintage, the head shrinkers. Got these with all the other good wrestling figures at the rummage sale. Already very much into the profit. Sold these for $50, and they sold in about 2 days. Sold these weird quarry critters chickens. Got these at Goodwill. They were different prices each one, the larger one there being the most expensive. Seems like I have like $18 into these. I ended up selling them for $50 plus shipping, and they took about 5 months to sell, so it ended up not being that bad. Wasn't sure how they would do. Mostly the reason I bought it was because of the larger one was with it, and that seemed to have some pretty good value, so ended up making money on it. Would probably buy these again if I saw them cheap enough. Got this KitchenAid coffee carafe from a rummage sale. Seems like I paid $2 for it. It is new in box, and I ended up selling it for $30 plus shipping, and it took about 4.5, maybe 5 months to sell. Here are some flexible hexabits. Found these in a Goodwill for, I think they were like $2. They've been listed for 3 years or more now. I bought them because there wasn't a lot of information on them. I remember seeing one comp for a different set that sold for like $50. Certainly not great. I ended up selling these for $18. Free shipping. Still made profit on them, but because they took so long to sell, not something I'll probably pick up again. Here is a Mickey Mouse Christmas inflatable. I got a few of these, I think 6 or 7 on clearance last year, and they didn't really sell. Or I guess they didn't have much of a chance to sell because Christmas was pretty much over. However, I just ordered boxes because I was going to sell these on Amazon, just doing seller fulfillment, not doing FBA. It looks like I can sell them for about $150. And of course, right after I order the boxes, one sells on eBay for $69.99. So I ended up pulling the rest of them because I can just make more money selling them on Amazon. Still, I paid $20 for it. I sold it for $70 plus shipping, so still making good profit. This is actually an Amazon seller fulfilled sale. Sold this one for $125. I'm going to be doing more Amazon seller fulfilled rather than FBA just because FBA is becoming ridiculous with the restrictions. It used to be that you sent something like this to Amazon FBA, you always made more money. At this point, you make more money doing seller fulfilled, selling it for less money. Not paying the extra FBA fees and everything it costs to ship them in now. So you're going to start seeing some Amazon seller fulfilled stuff. Of course, this would also sell on eBay. In fact, I just sold one on eBay. Might even be in this same video, but for the future, you're going to see some Amazon seller stuff. Here's some Sony blank audio cassettes. Got these at a rummage sale. A quarter, 50 cents, something like that cheap. And I sold them for $15. They took about 3 months to sell. Here is a tech deck. This is a new one. I got this with a bunch of other tech decks one time. Sold the other boards and pretty much everything else I got. This has been sitting there for 3 years or more. I should not have been cheeky and tried to sell it separate, I guess, in some of the other lots. I figured I could get more money doing that, but it sat forever, and in the end I had to lower the price, and it sold for $9. So just happy to get it out of here. It's not anything special, desirable. Should have just sold it with the other stuff. Still going to make a little bit of profit on it because I'm well into the profit on everything else I sold. That being said, there's some tech deck stuff that can be worth a lot. I ended up selling one of them that was new sealed for like $50. So you see tech deck out there and it's cheap enough, it's worth picking up. Here are some Dr. Comfort shoes. I've sold this style a few times and do very well with it. Unfortunately, when I bought these, I didn't notice how dirty and how much wear they had on them. They had a lot of mud. The toes were messed up, so I had to add a little bit of black shoe polish to make them look better. The insoles are really dirty. Usually I don't buy shoes that dirty because I just don't want to spend the time, cleaning them. But I just threw these up on eBay for $15 plus shipping. I just wanted them out of there. And they sold in less than a week, so still made some money on them, but they just weren't in good enough condition to sell for like $35, $40 like I usually do. Here is the last of the Mickey Mouse Christmas inflatables. I sold these on Amazon for $125. They sold very quickly doing seller fulfilled, but paid $20 for them on clearance and sold them for $125 a piece. But there it is, everybody. That's what I have to show you today. I think it was some pretty good sales. They keep rolling in. A lot of this stuff is selling before I even get the thrifting videos out and edited. Now that the garage sale season's over, I can list like a fiend, and I should be getting tons more sales. So expect a lot more of these videos. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Till next time.